This is Jazzy with Revive Movement and Strength. I am going to use sliders today. What you can do at home is you can use paper plates. So my feet are going to go on the slider or paper plates, whatever you have at home. I'm going to lie all the way down. The first key movement on this is pressing that back in. So think of pulling your rib cage to your hip bone, press your back in, or think of a C in the lower spine. My hands are just going to be out to the side here. Feet are shoulder width apart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drive my hips up, squeeze the glutes. I'm going to extend out as far as I can, and then I'm going to pull them back in. That is going to get those hamstrings firing, and then I'm going to lower in between. I'm going to reset. I'm going to press that back in. Core is engaged. I'm going to drive my hips up. I'm going to extend, pull them back in and down. So if you feel this a lot in your calf muscle, what you're doing wrong is you are not flexing your feet towards you, dorsiflexing. So if you're here and I'm sliding out, I'm gonna get my calves firing and I'm not gonna feel it anywhere else because that's a lot of tension throughout that calf muscle. So my back's pressed in, I'm gonna pull my toes towards me. I'm gonna press that back in, drive up, squeeze my glutes. I'm gonna extend, and then I'm gonna pull back in and down. To make it more challenging, press that back in, drive the hips up, extend out and in. Out and in, without letting those hips drop. So if your hips start to fall, reset. Press back in, drive up, and then go out and back in. This is gonna be a glute and hamstring exercise. Okay, you can do 15 of these, or if it's really challenging and you're really feeling it in your hamstrings, do less reps. The other alternative, if you cannot drive up and extend both legs out, what you can do is press your back in, drive up, extend one out, pull it back in, and then the other out and back in. So you're gonna alternate. This is gonna be easier because you're still keeping the tension or the weight in that one foot instead of both hamstrings. So when I extend out and in, I'm feeling it in that hamstring, the left one. Out and in, I'm feeling it in the right. So this is an easier version if you cannot do the other one, okay? And if this is too challenging, the other alternative is you can just start with a basic hip thrust. Drive your hips up, squeeze your butt, and back down. Still try to think of pulling your toes towards you so you're not getting your calf muscle firing too much. You just want to focus on the glutes and the hamstrings. And back down. Press that back in, come up, and back down. From there, I'm going to go into a slider push-up, or if you cannot do push-ups, I would start with a variation. So what you can do, so I'm not going to use the sliders to start with. I'm going to go into that push-up position. If you cannot do a push-up with proper form, what you can do is set up into a plank position, and I'm just going to drop one knee down. So my knee is not here because I don't want my butt way up in the air. I am in that plank position, wrists under the shoulders, core is tight, tuck the tailbone. I'm going to drop that one knee straight down. And then I'm going to come down and press up. Come all the way down and press up. So that is going to be your basic push-up position. The reason I have that knee down and back behind that 90 degrees is otherwise your butt's going to be way up in the air, and then what happens is we are here with our butt up in the air and it's not doing anything. With that other positioning and that knee back, you're working the whole upper body and everything comes down at the same time. So if you want to implement a slider push-up into what you're doing, what you can do is your hand, we'll start with just one. One hand is on the slider. So I'm going to come down and out and then back in. Come down and out and back in. That is going to make it a lot more challenging than if you were to just do a basic push-up. So that's how you can use sliders in your routine. The other one that I am going to demonstrate today is going to be for the core. So we did lower body, we did a little bit of upper body. Now we're going to do an abdominal exercise. I'm going to use the sliders here. I'm going to go into a elbow plank. So elbows right under my shoulders. Tuck the tailbone, core is engaged. So think of your rib cage to your hip bone. That's gonna create that C in that lower spine, so we're not arching that back, okay? So in that plank position, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna slide one foot out, and the other one follows across. And then center, out to the side, and across, back to center. So this is gonna work the obliques. Tailbone's tucked under. If you cannot move that leg way out to the side, start with a basic small movement right here. So this is plank, side to side. This is gonna work the obliques. Work shoulder stability. Make sure you're breathing. Don't let your butt drift way up high. Don't let it drop down low. The next one I'm gonna do is for the lower body. So again, we're doing a total body routine again, just with sliders. One foot on the slider, and I'm gonna do a lateral lunge. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let this foot slide out. I'm gonna keep my knee, hip, ankle in a straight line as I come down. Squeeze the glute, come up. So this leg that I am sliding out and in, I only have about 10, maybe 20% of my weight in that foot. And I'm just letting it drift out to the side. Squeeze your glute, come up nice and tall. A way to get lower or try to work on depth is you can put a box behind you to actually sit down to, or as your targeted range of motion, and then come up, squeeze the glutes. So again, foot's on that slider. I'm gonna do a lateral lunge. I'm gonna let that leg slide out. Knee, hip, ankle, straight line, squeeze your glute, come up. So foot is on that slider, come down, that leg is out to the side. I don't have a bend in it, it's straight. 80% of my weight at least is on that left leg. I'm gonna squeeze my butt. I'm gonna come up nice and tall. Okay, so core is tight. Again, I'm gonna do a lateral lunge. Everything's in a nice straight line. Trying to stay nice and tall through my upper half. Squeeze the glute, come up nice and tall. I would start out with about 10 of them, and you could use a box behind you. You should feel this in your quads and your glutes. You're gonna feel a little bit of a stretch on that inner thigh. What you don't wanna do is you don't wanna go with the slider. You wanna keep your weight on the leg that is stationary, on the floor, not moving. We are going to do a crawl. So this is gonna work the core and total body. Shoulder stability, basically everything from your shoulders down to your toes. So I am gonna have my feet on the sliders, elbow plank, elbows right under the shoulders, coming down into that plank position. Start with those elbows right under your shoulders. Don't let your hips rotate, okay? So you're in that plank position. Don't let your shoulders hike. Don't wear them for earrings. Keep them down. I am gonna crawl forward. Try not to let your hips rotate. Legs are just, you're pulling them with you. So they are just behind you, not doing anything. Your upper body is doing all the work here, and the core stabilizing. Might feel a little bit in the quads, just staying in that plank position. This is a very hard exercise. So I would start with 2 to 3, just to start out with. But this is one of my favorites. And it will get your core burning. I'm gonna do one final exercise. This is going to be for the core as well. Still gonna use the sliders. So I'm gonna have both hands on the sliders for this one. What I'm gonna do is go into that plank position. So wrists under the shoulders. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide one hand out, center, up, center, out to the side, center, and up. To make it a little bit more challenging, what you can do is you can do a 3-point touch. So I'm gonna go into that plank position. Think of your rib cage to your hip bone, tuck the tailbone under. I'm gonna go out to the side, center, and diagonal. Out to the side laterally, up, diagonal. This is gonna work the core. So from the other side, up, laterally, diagonal. You can go whatever direction you want, just as long as you hit all 3 points. So down, lateral, and up, diagonal, lateral, and up. Make sure you do not twist through your hips when you're doing that exercise. If you like the video, make sure you like it and subscribe for future content.